Okay, everyone, are you ready? Do you have your nutmegs ready? Get your graters out. Here's your warm drink, right? There we go. A little bit of nutmeg to start off the afternoon. Welcome into the Nutmeg Tavern. We are live. I'm your host, John Townsend. We're going to be talking about fun 18th century stuff like we always do every Friday. I see like people piling into the tavern from all over the world. So you are all welcome into the tavern. It is nice and cozy in here today. And we've got lots of fun things to talk about. And I am joined with Lauren, who is in the chat.
Hello.
And Ivy, who is on the console.
Hi, everybody.
There we go. So I'm not alone here in the tavern. You just can't see them because they're hiding. You had a super chat from last week.
I did. I have a super chat from this week. Oh. So there's a super chat from earlier in the stream, and it was from Mandatory Carry. Mm-hmm. Thank you. I will watch the rerun.
Okay.
Always happy to know that even if people can't catch it live, they can catch the rerun, so that's good. And then from last week, I totally missed this one. I'm sorry. It's from Eric F. I've visited some historic buildings in the New Jersey area and noticed that they had some Townsend's products there for decoration. Mm-hmm. Do you ever see that yourself when visiting new sites?
It's pretty funny, going to historic sites, seeing things. Sometimes you even see our items in antique stores and people think that they are actually antiques. Or anyway. And then, occasionally we even see them in movies or television. So yeah, it's neat to see Townsend's things littered about the cosmos as we wander around.
So here's a question from today. The main question every one of us has about baskets is, did they ever have an unused stack of baskets like we do today?
No, they would use them. I think that's probably the big difference between today and in the 18th century. I think baskets are so very used in day-to-day life that's kind of the big difference, that baskets are really important to the 18th century. They're important to a lot of different industrial things and cottage industries and things like fishing. We don't think about needing a whole bunch of baskets for fishing, but they would need lots and lots of baskets. And they had so many different kinds of baskets. We still have a lot of different kinds of baskets today, but a lot of things have replaced baskets in the modern world. So we have cardboard boxes and plastic kind of basket things that we use that have replaced the classic basket from the 18th century, but they're so very important.
Okay, we ready to jump into our...
Yeah. That was the only thing we had to hit before? Okay. So, I have around me a giant pile of baskets all over the place. There's baskets behind me, baskets on the table here, baskets you can't even see. The tiniest basket in the universe, no, not really, but tiniest basket I have here with me. And then there's some bigger baskets. And if you have seen Crimson Bond, we even have the giant pack basket in Crimson Bond. I should have thought to grab a shot of that. That was one of those kind of funny things that we made specifically for that Josh had on his back, this ginormous pack basket. But the reality is they had baskets plenty that big and bigger in the 18th century that they used for maybe carrying, slightly lighter things than we put on poor Josh's back.
Is that hanging around somewhere? I might be able to find it.
I think we ended up selling it.
Oh, that's sad.
You can't keep everything forever.
Not
it
forever.
Seems like I do anyway, but the reality is occasionally something leaves the place. So let's jump into some baskets, and I've got Lauren collected literally hundreds of images. Thankfully, we winnowed them down to less than 100. But before we get there, we did have a question about diaper work in bricks. And the reason why we have the diaper term is it was a particular kind of fabric, and it had a little knobbly kind of feel to it that was woven in. So And we can see that they also did the same kind of thing with bricks and did sort of either bricks that will pop out or sort of diamond-shaped things that they would put into the brick work, so we could see it kind of showing up on the exterior of this particular building that, boy, I certainly hope they're able to restore it. It looks like a very beautiful building. But we can see that kind of interesting brickwork. I remember that, I believe on the side of the house that's at Locust Grove down in Louisville, Kentucky, has some of that same kind of brickwork. Whether the reason why we're talking about that was because of the very fancy brick chimney that was in the English house, the 1630s English house at Frontier Culture Museum. And I believe it wasn't until the 1660s that they put the chimney in, but it's got this amazingly beautiful chimney. Unfortunately, I didn't have a super close-up picture of that, but just great picture. So let's get into baskets. Speaking of giant pack baskets, we see so many street sellers, almost every street seller that we see in all the images from the 18th century and even earlier are using baskets to carry their goods. They have to carry, things to sell, and baskets are strong but very light. And that's one of the great, wonderful things about them. Also, they are slightly flexible, so they're an easier thing to wear than, say, a wooden structure, carrying things around in a wood box, which would be very, not helpful. So we've got this person here on the one side, who he's close to a boat, but the pack basket seems to have vegetation, possibly flowers coming out of it. Do you have an interpretation on that? Did you?
Nope. Okay. Didn't say.
And then the other person who has a basket on the arm, a basket on her head, and a bundle under her arm, which that can't be very easy to do.
No, she does not look like she's having an easy time with it.
I don't know how you balance all that and carry all that stuff. I guess that's the whole point. It's not easy. This is a slightly blurry image of the basketry shop in Diderot's Encyclopedia. So in Diderot's Encyclopedia, done in the late 18th century, it's French, and it has a bunch of arts and trades plates in it, a very large bunch of arts and trades plates in it. And there are some images of the tools that basket makers would use, some of the special baskets they make, and this is sort of their interpretation of a basket shop. And we see all the baskets in the background, all kinds of shapes and sizes, square baskets, round baskets, tall baskets, short baskets. And then we have a basket, like wicker statue they're making. And even behind them, a giant, I guess we would call it like a wicker box or something, right? So they were using it for so many different things, and we can get an interpretation from that here. These are the plates out of Diderot's for some of the tools, and we see some of the special, like a large awl, or almost like a marlin spike kind of a tool here. On the far side, we have some splitters where they would split the reeds or the twigs that they're using. A lot of these are those kinds of tools here in the upper part of it on the left-hand side, along with special knives and whatnot. We could even see that sort of sawhorse tool in the last plate. And we can see a close-up version of it here. It's something that they would use to, again, split or shave down the rods that they're using to make the baskets. And then we see those specialty basket shapes. Sometimes it's just a flat sheet, a very open kind of basket. There's that pack basket that we see a lot there on that top row, which you would use, street sellers would use those. It came way up over the back, so you could kind of stack things, and they would could go very high. Even like a basket work bassinet and different sort of, I don't know what some of those lower ones are for, specialty basket tools. And one of the basket pictures I don't think we did find was a gig or a cart body that was completely done with basket work. So they used it for so many different things. The brandy cellar here, again, these are probably French images from like Cries of Paris. And she has this basket that's multi-purpose. Not only does it have the bottles, and it's specifically made so that you can see those wine bottles through it, or brandy bottles in this case, and then these little cups or measuring devices, those sort of special measuring cups, on the spikes on the front of that basket. So a seller like this could say, you know, I need a special basket. I want it made so that it's got a little hook over here and a sticky up on that side, and I want to be able to, you know, put a big strap around it so I can hold it on myself. That's one of the great things about it. They're very, very adaptable, and you can do lots of special things with baskets, even put in, change the color of it, or do special intricate designs. The ink cellar has a seemingly special, you know, simple basket. We can see that it's also slung around his shoulder. Obviously, it has to be because he's got one hand. He wants to be able to pour the ink with one hand and still steady the basket and have it stay on his body.
Okay, I've got some questions. You want to pop out?
Yes.
Okay, so would people ever create extra baskets in preparation for the ones that they were using heavily that they knew might break, or was that more of a rich/wealthy thing?
I think having backup kind of things like that was pretty standard for those folks. And there's some kind of, you know, basket repair. We see that kind of going on a lot of these images. The baskets don't last forever, and sometimes you repair them as best you can, and then have, you know, baskets that are waiting in the wings, right, for you to replace them.
Mm-hmm. Did they ever use crochet baskets in the 18th and 19th century, or is that more of a modern thing?
Crochet being does she mean made with crochet work or made out of crochet?
I think with crochet work. Made
because,
with
you know,
fabric.
have you ever seen those like yarn, like totes that people make out of crochet?
But
they're like,
No.
but I have, but I didn't see anything like that or references to it. It seems like they were using stiffer materials like grass and wood and that
Right.
sort
I'm
of
pretty
thing.
sure crochet wasn't used.
Right.
You know, the one needle crocheting
Right.
wasn't
That is
used
a more
until
modern
later.
thing.
Yeah, that's a
Yes.
19th century thing, the crochet itself. They had some things that were kind of like that, tatting and some other ways to make things, but crochet itself is actually a little bit later.
What would be some of the typical basket sizes everyone used versus ones that were more individualized?
Well, I think the classic, market basket that everybody's going to have, something a little probably bigger than this one. We have this one picked out because it's such super fine work. This is a wood basket that is just incredibly fine work. You can imagine a little bit bigger than this, standard market basket, and then the classic that we would possibly see something like a clothes basket, right? So that's another one of those, super typical sizes. But you can imagine there were probably about a half a dozen sizes of baskets that basically everybody would be used to if they didn't have one. They would see one each and every day, whether it was a kind of fruit basket size, a clothing hamper basket size, and then some of these smaller ones. One of the other classic ones we're going to see later on is the pottle basket, which is about 2 liters or so, maybe between 1 liter and 2 liter in size, used to sell fruit. And it was almost like a disposable basket. You would sell the person the whole thing filled up with fruit, and you would sell them the basket and the fruit all at the same time. Again, this is what you're going to see every day.
So somebody was asking, because in other cultures you'll see people using baskets as cooking utensils. Is there any baskets being used to like steam food or anything else here in North America?
Probably a good question and one that I can't necessarily answer. I'm sure that something like steaming clams or things like that would have been done sometimes with the baskets, but I don't know that for sure.
So here's a super chat from Max Sarcole. Excited to learn if historically they made cases to put baskets in, or if it was instead that baskets were used as cases. Asking for a friend, smiley face.
Yeah, baskets are used as cases for other things, right? Very rarely would you make a thing to hold a basket, but you're going to make baskets to hold everything. So special wine baskets, special this kind of basket or that kind of basket. They're holding all those things. They will, they're great for something like protecting a bottle so that it doesn't get broken. So, if it's either we're trying to hold lots of small things together, or we're trying to protect something that's a little more delicate, and it's going to take some of the cushion for that. And in some cultures, not necessarily English or North American, but in some places they have baskets that are so tight that they will hold water.
Which is just there's an art for you.
Yep.
So somebody was wondering what the most common materials used were, and the ones I saw referenced most were white oak and ash. If they were making the kind of fine, heavy-duty baskets for tough use, those seem to be really, highly used.
So those kinds of wood split baskets, which this is a wood split basket, extremely strong. And so many different kinds of baskets. There are grass baskets that are made. There's some of these are, this tiny one here is almost like it's a coil basket. And they had those too in the time period where they would take different kinds of grasses. They would take something that was like a horn. And
I was just going to have you put the basket up to the side cam.
Oh,
so
like this guy?
like that guy.
Yeah,
there
you go.
There you go.
I don't know how you can get it. where
It's a
in
little
focus.
easier to see
Yeah,
that
so
way.
there we go. So that's a little coiled basket. So they would make these in the time period too. They would have especially for larger ones where the coil is larger, they would have a horn, like a cow horn, and they would cut the end of it off, and then they would feed that grass in. It would compress it into a tighter bundle. They would be able to bundle that up, keep it in a coil, and then use that as the material and kind of make it into a basket. There's so many different ways to do a basket. Most of them seem to be out of kind of sticks, twigs, but you could also use reeds and anything that's kind of long and skinny and flexible.
Well, and it seemed like that probably each of the Native American tribes had their own special basket making techniques, usually very hyper specific to the regions they were in, because they'd have, like, there's little pine needle baskets. So sometimes the exact area you're in can influence the tradition of your basket making.
Right, and the material will change the design of the basket a little bit and what you need it for. So,
and also attached to the making materials and stuff, somebody was wondering if clay was ever purposefully applied to them. I didn't run across any mention of that when I was doing it.
Yeah, good. Excellent question, and one that I don't know the proper answer to. I mean, sometimes they're using, there is reference to making, like we used a basket for the oven as a pattern to work over the top of, and then we burn that out. You do see that sort of use, it being used with clay, but in that sense you burn the basket away. But I don't know about clay and baskets in our cultural connections.
There were some people who were wondering about the cost of the baskets compared to, what would a basket like this cost them versus what would we be paying for that same time? And I have no idea. I didn't see any pricing.
That's really tough.
It's also hard to compare. So.
And even today, it's very, very difficult for you to say what any kind of baskets might cost. Because if we go to some place that's bringing in, baskets from overseas, and they're made by, where they're used a lot more, and they're made as a cottage industry, we can buy baskets for nearly nothing. But then you run into a basket like this that's an Appalachian basket made with completely different materials and has a different amount of time put into it, and you might be surprised how much a basket like this would cost you.
Well, there was a comment from earlier in the chat, and it's from Judith Smith, and she says, I'm a basket maker for 30 plus years now. I love seeing what I can do different. I've made one of a kind no money can buy because the work I put into it cannot be priced, would not sell.
Exactly.
And there are a lot of baskets.
I spent 3 months making this basket.
It's mine forever.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I think we're all caught up and we can go back and...
Okay, we jump back in. We've got more of a pack basket here with the person selling oysters. And you can imagine that's starting to get heavy.
Yes, I would imagine.
Heavy oysters in there. Someone, the orange seller here, I mean, she doesn't have very many oranges.
No,
right?
and I think that might be one of those open work baskets.
Yes. Yeah, some of these, again, are open work baskets so that either air can move through them so they don't get clammy and dirty on the inside, or possibly so you can see what's inside the basket.
That's true.
Or both in this case. So there she is selling oranges. And, people do talk about, it's like, oh, they would never have been able to afford lemons or oranges.
And then
it's
you
like,
get to see this. Now, of course, they're probably in London or some other port city, but
yes.
still.
But this is a street seller.
It's true.
Is somebody
that is
that's
a street seller.
not selling really expensive things. Now we have 3 slides here, and these we even see them today.
Yes,
So
we do.
kind of, what do you call them?
I would say it's a woven grass basket. Would be my
but I mean
guess.
today, do they call it that's not really a market basket. It's almost like a paper bag.
It is.
Or you can see how floppy they are. There's the one here, this person's actually on the left-hand side is at a fish shop, but she's just shopping. She's going through the market and she's got her collapsible bag. The one in the middle has dead birds in it, which I'm not sure why we have game birds, and some of them seem more like songbirds. And then we have this basket in the back, whether they're actually implying that the hunter was carrying those in the bag or not. I don't have a good answer for that. And then we have the person looking at the vegetables on the other side, and she has exactly the same kind of bag. And what's very funny is sometimes we'll see things like this in the market today. We'll go, to some place and we'll see these bags and we'll think, oh well, those can't be a period bag. They wouldn't have had that 250 years ago. Wait, it's exactly like that.
I love seeing things like that feels so modern to me, and you're like, nope,
Right.
they had something
It's
just like it.
exactly the same thing as you can find today. We have a couple of these look like, is it Dutch? Yes. And they are boys that are pulling along this sled with a giant basket with sticks of wood on it. And I would say this is probably, he's born in 1790, so this is probably an 1820, 1830 kind of an image. By the looks of their clothing and whatnot. But doesn't matter, same thing you're going to see 50 years earlier or whatever. Again, basically a giant laundry basket here, but they're using it to carry wood. And these baskets were made out of some probably sturdier materials than we see today. So they can really take a lot of beating.
Yeah, most of the baskets I've seen, I doubt very much, are white oak. And I feel like you could make the exact same basket in a lighter wood and in a white oak, and they'd act very differently.
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of baskets today are made out of reeds.
Yes, that's true.
Which
Even more. They don't
really
hold up the same.
Take the same kind of work. We see the fisherman's basket here. We have one on her back that she's carrying goods, and then a larger basket there underneath the person's elbow. We can kind of really sense how, a larger material it's made out of, thicker, heavier, can take a lot of abuse. He could be leaning his entire weight on it. It's not really going to shift. And then we have the 1796 image on the right-hand side with this basket that's all full of fish. Now, imagine loading up a basket full of fish. Those are heavy fish by the time you stuff it giant full like that. So, again, it's going to take a lot of stress and not really. Is she saying put some of those like nasty old fish in her apron?
I think so. I
It's
think
like, oh
she's
yeah, here, put 10 fish in my apron.
She should have brought a basket with her.
Yuck, yeah. Yeah, dummy. They make baskets for that. I thought this set was very funny because the people are almost exactly the same pose, but
Yep.
and
Similar
and
dress. Even.
similar dresses, and they all have baskets basically at their elbow. Now we've got their little sewing baskets. They're all sewing baskets. The context here is the same in every single one of those. Baskets hold all those things nicely, and they still look pretty. So you can, tuck all that stuff into that basket and set it on the shelf, and it isn't going to be, oh, what's that over there?
And
this bundle
helps
of
keep
junk.
it contained, and
Yeah.
it's like small scissors, pins, silk thread. They're all expensive but necessary,
Right.
items, and you don't want to have them get lost. So.
Let me read this. I popped up here. We were just 5 minutes getting ready. I noticed that I had this newspaper advertisements that were just sitting here, and I said, I wonder if there's a basket thing in here. So, a basket merchant, fancy baskets and woodenware, James Thorburn, and he's on Maiden Lane, corner of Green Street, and it's in New York. He says he begs leave to inform his customers that in addition to his former stock, he's received other arrivals from Amsterdam, a very handsome assortment of fancy baskets, etc., closed baskets of different sizes, handsome toiletry baskets, market baskets, ladies' fine knitting baskets of different sizes, children's baskets of different patterns, counter baskets, tumbler baskets of different sizes, handsome plate and cake baskets. Hold cakes in a basket? Quadrille boxes, and then he goes on to other things he's got, like tubs and woodenware. He even has mortar and pestles and rolling pins. Also, common baskets of different kinds. So there's just a shop in New York, nothing but baskets.
So somebody had a question, and they were wondering whether basket making was more done by men or by women, or maybe different types by one or the other. And I didn't run across any reference to it.
Yeah, I think you're going to find baskets done by all kinds of people. So it's, some of these baskets are going to be easy to make in a home kind of setting. And that's one of the great things about baskets, is they really don't take a huge number of tools. We saw the tools in the Diderot's plate. There were different kinds of things to shave them down, or to cut them with knives, and maybe a special tool to bundle the things up. And then that's about it. So it doesn't take any large tools. So you can do it in all kinds of different places. And you can, I was going to say something like, so some of the baskets might take a little more strength, and sometimes you're making something really big. So you can make basket boats almost. So some of these where you weave a kind of a basket and then a giant basket, and then you put canvas on the top of it and you make a boat. So some of them are big and hard to make, and other ones are small and easy to make. So basically even kids can make them. And one of the other things, they specially trained blind people who wouldn't be able to do other kind of jobs to make baskets. So there we go.
Okay, we ready to jump back in?
Okay. We jump back in. We've got baskets in the kitchen. And on the left-hand side, actually the bird cage is almost like a basket, isn't it? And then we have a basket right beside it hanging way up over her head. And then on the table, we've got the pottle baskets with a little bit of fruit in them. And then those baskets are in a basket. And then if you look behind the table leg, there's another sort of open work basket back there. probably to help those greens dry out. You can probably even use those baskets like a strainer, or so you can wash the greens out, and then it just drains through the basket. And then on the extreme left-hand side, we can see baskets again hanging up high, pottle baskets, and then sort of smaller basket. I don't know what that one smaller basket is for. He's got was it birds in the basket at his elbow? Anyway, basket at his elbow with birds and in it, dead birds, not live ones. Although sometimes I'm surprised you didn't find one of those like chicken baskets where you take chickens to market in the basket.
Well, we will see someone with chickens in a basket.
Well, there you go, chickens in a basket.
I'm not sure if it was specially made because it doesn't have a lid. I don't know why the chickens are still in the basket.
Oh, okay. This is the Rollinson picture of picking mulberries, and mulberries are ripe right now.
Yes, they are.
If you want to go and
it's
find
the perfect time.
that mulberry pudding episode, you can put that in the chat there. And this, we see all kinds of baskets, big baskets, small baskets. We see pottle baskets and stacked inside of other baskets. So if you're going out to the market to sell all these, mulberries, you don't just take one pottle basket and sell it. You take, a dozen of them. So you have to have a big basket to hold the little baskets so you can carry them out into the market and sell them. And I'll bet those were good. Flower baskets. So classic, we kind of see flowers being put into baskets. Most of these are these fancy open work baskets. And then there's actually two baskets on that picture in the right, the still life, right behind the bread. There's a standard sort of just market basket, and then the grapes seem to be in one of those special, again, open work sort of baskets. Ooh, there's a lot of baskets. Lauren liked just the look of all these people.
I did. I thought this was an interesting picture. There is a basket in it, though, so.
We're trying to figure out what he's saying about these 4 servants, and I think we know who's in charge, and who's sort of the guy who has to do all the real, dirty work in the place, and who gets away with whatever, and then anyway. But he's leaning on this nice big basket. And sometimes they might call this a hamper, sort of like we would call it a laundry hamper. Well, the hampers in the time period, you might use them for all sorts of things, and even use them as a package. So you would package up all these in the hamper that has the lid on it, and then you can even see it sort of like has a tag on it. So you could put a hamper on a coach and have a address tag, deliver this to so-and-so. And maybe inside the hamper is, well, who knows what. It might have food in it or other kinds of products inside of it. But we see this big basket. Very similar looking basket in this. We have the bigger baskets there's actually 2 on the right-hand side. They may be the kind that go on to horses.
Oh yeah, saddle. Maybe they are. They
Those
could be.
Look like the kind that they might use for that. You can see they have all lids, so they're the hamper style. And then she's got a basket with ribbons in it, and she's selling ribbons probably.
I think she is like a ribbon vendor, and she's dropped by to sell to the.
So in a military camp like this, especially this is sort of like probably a settled military camp, staying here for a while. They would have sometimes wives and camp followers and cooks in that kind of setting, and then it would have different people coming in to sell things to them, sometimes food or whatnot. And in this case, it's like, oh, I'm going to sell ribbons. There we go. We get 2 different images of these bigger baskets that go on horseback, like giant saddlebags. So this one, I don't know why the eggs are on top.
It's a fable. It's a picture of a fable, so it doesn't have to make sense apparently.
Okay, it doesn't have to make sense.
There's a crow that's off screen that scared the horse.
Yes. Okay. Anyway, regardless of what's going on with the eggs, we do have a giant basket we can see on this side. And if you look on the right-hand side behind Hob here that's dancing with the beer, we have another horse, and you can see the basket on either side. So they balance each other out. It must have been a heavy ride. You got a person riding and two baskets
Yes.
full of whatever.
That does seem like that must be a sturdy horse.
Yes.
Is that what horses do when they get scared by a crow?
I've never had a horse do that, but
Yeah, well. I don't know what to tell
maybe
you about.
he was tired of carrying that many eggs and he was hoping he could get a couple of them to,
And, I mean, if we want to talk about the eggs for just a second, you got to get a feel for the eggs. They aren't tiny eggs, but they
No,
certainly
they're smaller
aren't
than
giant.
ours. They're like,
Yeah, they're like mediums.
yeah, they are. More
Yeah,
like a medium.
Definitely. Yeah, I don't know. You can't always trust an artist to, deliver exactly the right,
But
rate.
this,
He looks pretty good. He's
this
a pretty good
particular
artist.
artist obviously put a lot of work into
Yeah,
a lot
the
of different
detail.
things
Yeah.
in the picture.
And
so.
then they're white-shelled eggs too. Which
They are,
They probably
not
have
brown.
both kinds. So we have. I think this is. Are these both Sandby?
I know the one on the right is.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about the
Right.
other
I
one.
think Sandby sketches here, and the one is for. This is just a working sketch for something that he would do later on, but gives a good idea. The person here on the left has cookwares.
Yes,
maybe?
he does have cookware in his
Cookware.
pots and pans in his
Yeah.
basket.
And so that's going to be a hefty basket, and it's not deflecting at all. It's very, holding its own there. And then we have all those laundry baskets. Again, they're probably pretty heavy too. Big baskets. I don't know if I would try to balance that stuff on my head.
They must have sturdy necks because they're carrying a lot of weight.
And notice, I mean, not all of them are doing the full balance it on your head.
That's
thing.
true. Some of them are there.
Yeah.
Most of them have a hand to help balance.
Right. We have the classic watercress seller image there, and her basket looks, like what we would see many times today, with kind of a wicker work looking basket with open work on one side. We've got the person in the market selling vegetables. She's got two different kinds of pretty similar looking, almost look like laundry basket kind of baskets. Then we got the waif, I don't know,
Right?
there with the chicken in the basket. It's probably just one of those very tame chickens.
It must be a very friendly chicken.
But you can have a kind of I've seen sometimes, more of an open work basket with a top on it that you would carry chickens to market or whatnot. They might not be so friendly then, but anyway. Somebody picked out the guinea pig seller image
I couldn't
especially.
resist. The one guinea pig in
Because they're
particular.
so
He just
cute.
looks so friendly.
Yes. So anyway, he had guinea pigs in his basket, and then the image here on the right-hand side, it's a basket with a basket in it.
I liked especially how you could tell that the two baskets had very different weaves. And this particular artist went to the trouble of making those baskets almost photorealistic. They're just
Yeah, some of these later or even early 19th century images are just so detailed that you can just count the stitches and everything else. It's pretty amazing. But a couple of beautiful older baskets there. Some more of the sort of cries images, and we've got people with standard smaller baskets. We've got the basket of the pack basket. One of the other basket images we don't have here is the baskets that they make. I think we saw it. What did we do? Wool? Did we do wool? Yeah, we did
Yes.
the wool episode, right? So
Yeah.
when they wanted to wash that wool, many times they washed it within a basket.
Yes.
And they had a special basket with these really long wooden arms on it, and you would use those arms to tilt it back and forth like a washing machine. But and in fact, don't we call it today that you put the clothes
In the basket.
in the basket of the washing machine with holes in it? Same deal. It was actually a basket.
Lets the water in, keeps the clothes from floating away.
That's right. We've got a very pale-looking person here in 1774. Now, it might just be makeup that's making her look that pale, because obviously her hands don't look all white like her face there.
I think she's being consoled, and I think
yeah.
that the artist is letting you know that she has been in recent distress by her palette.
Maybe she's mourning or
Yes.
whatever. Right? This is before black was a thing, but but she has. Is that a sewing basket?
I thought that it was.
Yeah.
It doesn't. We don't
Seems-
specifically know. I think, but
seems to have cloth
It
sticking
definitely
out.
looks like it to me.
And then 1800 here, we've got a whole kind of little sewing thing going on here. Yes, there are. There is another basket there. There's one on the ground, and then one basket. So it's a basket for each
Each
person.
lady brought their basket with them,
That's right.
with their sewing things.
Yeah. And here we are with the final, basket toward the end of its life. You could probably fix that up.
Yeah,
I have
sure.
baskets that kind of look like that, and we still use them.
Yep. Right? You could use it for the rougher chores, or you could
Right.
probably do a little bit of repair.
And if we look really close, there's another one of those kind of collapsible, soft baskets in the back. So, whew, that's a lot of baskets.
It is. So here's a question. When did they start using baskets for selling food by the bushel, and how was that size guaranteed? Were there guilds for basket making? So two different.
That was a really good question. I didn't look up baskets for guild baskets. I'm thinking, I don't know. I'm not going to answer that because I'd probably be wrong. I would say that it's such a kind of a lowly art, but there are a lot of lowly arts that still had guilds, so there may have been something like that, especially in different places. Basket work is ancient, so people have been making basket-like things forever. So it's probably one of the first things people do is start playing with sticks, and it's like, oh, we're going to make a basket. There was one interesting 18th century encyclopedia reference to the even in that time period, they were hearkening back to some of the writings from ancient Rome, and one specific writing talking about baskets coming from Britain. So this is, say 300 or 200 AD, and here they had a sort of Roman colony in Great Britain, and some of those crazy British, tribesmen, they would have called them in the time period, they would make a very fine kind of basket, and that was being sent back into the Roman Empire. So we know it's just super ancient. We know that you're using that basket-like technology for, all these things we've seen here today, plus the idea of boats, plus they used a basket-like thing for military works. So if you're doing a temporary fortification, you would have these special kinds of baskets, normally about kind of that big, and you'd fill them up with dirt, and you'd stack them up right beside each other, and they were like sandbags from the time period. They would use them to, protect the troops. So they're using baskets for everything.
But in that, there was a section about sizing, and that for different items, the same term would mean a different size basket, right?
Yeah, yes. Sorry, I got off track there
That's
with
okay.
the sizing of it. So depending on where you're at, there were some very specific concepts for sizing of particular things. So in the brandy cellar image, we saw that she had measuring cups, and many times those would be stamped with an official stamp that said, this is a cup, this is 2 cups, or whatever, so that they were selling things that were, officially sanctioned sizes. But, like bushels, a bushel basket, and its sizing kind of changes from thing to thing. So, I think they did have regular sizes for it, but how they kept that regular and known, well, depends on where you're at as to how highly regulated that would be.
But they did have some pretty,
Yeah.
like, there were, for a lot of different things, they had
more
some very
regulation
clear
than you would
regulations
imagine.
about things. So, did they make wickerwork furniture in the 18th century?
We certainly see some things like that. I don't know if you see it quite like we do today, as in full chairs, but I think a lot of times you will see sort of, we'd have to do another image study to see if we could find something that was like that.
So, somebody's wondering, I know some very ancient communications were made by tying knots in strings or baskets. Could secret messages be encoded in baskets in this time period?
Oh, you could see it. It's like a spy thing,
Right, well, like that,
carry-
especially like that one you've got there on the side with the
Right.
color. Like you
Yes.
just put a perfect pattern in it,
That's right.
and it spelled out.
Did they do that? I don't know.
Okay, so do we want to talk a little bit about events upcoming?
Yeah, upcoming events. So if you're interested in upcoming events, it's reenactingschedule.org, right? Reenacting schedule.
Reenacting schedule.
Reenactingschedule.org. You can check that out, and they've got a calendar. It doesn't necessarily have every event in the whole universe, but if your event isn't on there, talk to them and get it on there. They believe Battle of Monmouth is coming up in Monmouth, New Jersey area, and the market fair at Fort Loudon. Is that
Yes.
Fort Loudon, Tennessee, or Fort Loudon, Pennsylvania?
I think it's Pennsylvania. And I think that one's June 21st through the
That's
23rd.
not this weekend, but yeah. So events happening all over the world, but all over the country. So if you're interested, check that out.
And then, did you want to show the picture?
Show the picture. Oh yeah. There's one more picture. Somebody sent a painting.
I think it's probably acrylic. I'm not
Yes.
sure, but that would be
Yes,
my guess based on the colors.
So there you go.
And do you see that? Like, I was so impressed by the shading on the hands. I always have real trouble with hands, so I thought and I just loved it because, of course, I looked at it and I'm like, hey, I know that place.
Yeah. Woo, boy.
So thank you. That was
Glad
lovely.
I can't do art like that.
She was the person who drew it was mentioning that that she does artwork while she listens to the live streams in the background, right? Or watches videos, which is what I do too sometimes. And so that's what made her think about doing this particular piece.
Woo. So I've got, here's a little basket there, the open work kind of basket. We've got,
You gonna tell them where all these baskets
yeah,
came
they're
from?
all, I was at my mom's house day before yesterday. It's like, hey, we need some baskets. And she's like, well, just basically open up every door, every cabinet, and you'll find baskets everywhere.
And
so
there were beautiful
we
baskets.
found baskets everywhere.
In every corner, and we left some because we
I
couldn't
think
fit them on
every
the car.
single. Okay, there are 2 baskets here
That's true.
that didn't come from grandma's,
Right.
and everything else
Yep.
Yeah.
is our grandma's baskets.
Right, so little tiny grass baskets, little, special this basket, special that basket. Some of them have little tags about who made them. There are big baskets in the back here, and sometimes you can't. There's a little tiny basket in there. Also, there's the Gary Carroll video.
Oh yes, let me find that.
So we'll find that and punch that in the chat. Gary Carroll's a basket maker that we see down at Martin Station. He was there this year. He was there the year before, and we did a video with him. Phew, it was probably 7 years ago or so. But he's a fun person to chat with. So you can check out that Gary Carroll video, basket maker.
Okay, so here's somebody saying, I recently found a cookbook called Penn Family Recipes by William Penn's wife. It's a recipe from the late 17th century, but I thought John would find it interesting.
I've got that one. It was actually open on the couch.
Yes, that's what made me think about it. It was right, like it was when I walked into the house yesterday, it was right there on the arm of the couch.
So, yes.
We have
Books. We
many
have
a
some
book.
books.
Okay. Anything else we've forgotten?
Special thanks to the folks who checked out last week's video, which was Ryan with the onion pie. I had him redo the onion pie episode because I think that was one of the great ones, and he did a bang up job of that. We've got a really big episode coming up on Sunday, which will be on corn. Lots and lots of corn stuff going on with that. Ryan's cooking, I'm talking, and by the time you get done with that, you'll know all you need to know about corn, let me tell you. And is there anything else?
No, I think we're all set.
We did it. Special thanks to the folks that help us out. I don't have the Patreon and member names because someone forgot them.
I forgot to mention it.
Yeah, someone forgot to mention it
That was me.
because I forget it every time. It's just like I'm thinking about all this stuff and I forget that. So, but super special thanks to all that, and thanks to you folks here in the chat and all your great questions and fun comments, and watching those videos. It really makes a big difference to what happens with the channel. So thank you so much for your great help with us, your support in all sorts of different ways. Hope you have a wonderful weekend, and thanks for watching.
Thank you.